Hey, this is Nicky G and welcome to Better Commander. Today we're going to be talking about Ognis, the dragon's lash, fresh off the streets of New Capenna. Alright, so before we get started here, I just wanted to say, hey listen, I like making videos about magic, right? You like watching videos about magic. It's a match made in Chandelar, baby. So subscribe and you get all of my nonsense. Alright, get me out of this basement. Anyways, yesterday I tried a prototype Ognis, the dragon's lash deck with some buddies. So this card is a hybrid Rakdos, a red mana, and a hybrid Gruul mana for a legendary creature, Viashino Warrior. It's a 3/3. Has Haste. Whenever a creature you control with Haste attacks, create a tapped treasure token. The central conceit of the deck was using great creatures and haste enablers to give all of our creatures haste. This seemed like a good idea, but the deck didn't really flow very well. I had a dragon sub theme, there are a ton of good dragons in Jund colors and some nice dragon payoffs. However, the deck was a little diluted. There was too much tension between the haste enablers and the creatures, and when we got board wiped, I was wishing for more hasty creatures to get my engine going again, as my haste enablers were gone. So I reconfigured the deck to utilize more hasty creatures. I kept some of the haste enablers, the ones that actually were really good on their own or had some added benefit or mode to advance our beatdown strategy. I also kept some of the generically good creatures, especially those that refilled our hands. This deck can dump a lot onto the field at once, so we don't want to be staring down at an empty grip. I also added some treasure synergies, especially those that allowed us to draw off of our tokens. Additionally, since we're a creature-based deck, I added some creature tutors to add some consistency. There's two combos that we can kind of use to end the game, and they're basically 2-card combos, so we'll detail those as well. Let's start off with our hasty creatures. So a Rabbit Battery is both a haste enabler and hasty by itself. This is a creature-based deck, so Beastcaller Savant is both hasty and ramp. It's 1 and a green for a 1/1 elf shaman ally. It has haste. Tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell. Gurmag Swiftwing is the first of many hasty flying attackers. We're going to be utilizing flying as our main form of evasion in this deck. We have to be able to attack safely, otherwise we're just throwing away our creatures for a tapped treasure token, and that's no fun. Captain Lannery Storm, I'm seeing this in a lot of decks lately, so she has haste, makes treasures. So 2 and a red for a legendary creature, Human Pirate. It's a 2/2, has haste. Whenever it attacks, create a treasure token. Whenever you sacrifice a treasure, Captain Lannery Storm gets +1/+0 until the end of turn, which can make her quite big in the late game. Questing Beast is 2 green for a legendary creature, Beast. It's a 4/4 with Vigilance, Death Touch, and Haste. Questing Beast can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage that will be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented, so this will only come in handy if somebody nails a fog. Whenever Questing Beast deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. Could come in handy. Wringles, Master of Pringles, also known as Rankle, Master of Prankles. This guy has some sweet modes. We get to choose what's what. It's 2 black for a 3/3 fairy rogue with flying and haste, and you can read the rest. Plus he's a rogue, which can help us cast Zagras, Thief of Heartbeats, 4 black and a red for a legendary creature, Vampire Rogue, 4/4. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party, so we have to remember also our commander is a warrior. Flying, Death Touch, and Haste. Other creatures you control have Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. Giving Death Touch to our flyers is fantastic. We'll create combat conundrums for our adversaries. How about some other hasty tasty 4-drops? We have Skyfire Phoenix. This can come back on the battlefield when Ognis inevitably gets recast after we get wiped or he gets hated off the board. Ulvenwald Oddity transforms into Ulvenwald Behemoth. This is a pure flavor include for me. I don't think this card is great. However, in this deck it has trample and haste. So inevitably we'll have more mana than cards, so the 7 mana to transform hopefully won't be a huge deal. It can be a huge buff to our creatures. In the meantime, it's an efficient hasty creature with trample. Froghemoth is a 5-drop, slightly less efficient but has the added bonus of being some graveyard hate, plus he's an awesome looking frog slime monster or whatever it is. Glorybringer is a 3 red creature dragon. It's a 4/4, has flying and haste. You may exert Glorybringer as it attacks. When you do, it deals 4 damage to target non-dragon creature an opponent controls. I remember when I packed this thing, I was like, oh, this thing's awesome, and then never found a deck for it. I think it'd be a great flying mid-range beater that can take out some troublesome smaller creatures. Gold Span Dragon. This thing is like 30 bucks now, but in this deck it makes our tokens worth twice as much, and it's evasive flying beater. It also makes treasures on attack. This is an excellent target for copying for our next card. Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker is 2 red. For a legendary creature, Goblin Shaman, it's a 2/2 with haste. Tap to create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control, except it has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So this is just an excellent card for most red decks, especially when we can copy big impactful creatures like Gold Span Dragon, or we can just win the game. With our next card, Zealous Conscripts, the token comes in, untaps Kiki Jiki, he makes another token, and we can do this 4, 20, 69 times and beat in with hasty 3/3s and win the game. And let us never forget Urabrask, the hide and seek master. Where is he? Is he under the couch? Is he in the refrigerator? Well, wherever he is, he's making our opponent's creatures enter the battlefield tapped and giving Jund Beaters haste. Gotta love this guy in this deck. Dragon Lord Kolagon is chilling out in the lightning, and he can bring the lightning. He can beat in for 6 damage while making all our dudes hasty. He's got some other text at the bottom that'll never come in handy in a Commander game ever. Hellkite Charger. Alright, this guy's 4 red for a creature dragon. It's a 5/5 with flying and haste. Whenever Hellkite Charger attacks, you may pay 7. If you do, untap all attacking creatures, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So Hellkite Charger goes crazy with Old Gnawbone, especially if you have enough attacking creatures to create 7 treasure tokens. You can do this over and over again. You have to have enough mana to get that started. You need about, 13 mana, and these guys on the battlefield, or one or the other on the battlefield. If you have enough mana, you can make infinite combats and hopefully just win the game. I started playing all the way back in Invasion, and back then we had a card called Daragaz, the Igniter. So this guy's Daragaz reincarnated. He's a reincarnated dragon, 4 black, red, and a green for a legendary creature dragon, 7/7, flying, trample, haste. Gotta love that. If he would die, instead exile it with 3 egg counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Daragaz is exiled with an egg counter on it, remove an egg counter from it. Then if Daragaz has no egg counters on it, return it to the battlefield. So this card, it's not so great, but these big beaters can come out early, so if he gets squashed, hopefully he can triumphantly return to the battlefield. And if he doesn't, so what? I mean, this is not a reanimator deck, and if he's in my graveyard, I mean, he's just sitting there anyway. And I want to use the big dragon, so cut me some slack, bro. How about this Hellkite Igniter? So this can be a great finisher. If you have 10 treasure tokens for 9 mana, you can deal 13 hasty damage out of nowhere. It's not bad. I'll talk about not bad. Klauth, Unrivaled Ancient, 5 red and a green for a legendary creature. It's a dragon 4/4 with flying and haste. Whenever Klauth, Unrivaled Ancient attacks, add X mana in any combination of colors, where X is the total power of attacking creatures. This can be huge. Spend this mana only to cast spells. Until the end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. What are you doing, Klaus? This guy's the Santa Claus of mana, so cast whatever you want. And lastly, but not leastly, Tyrant's Familiar. These lieutenant cards can be really good. This was originally from Commander 2014, and it looks like he's giving you a little side wink while he roasts your opponent's creature. It's just another hasty beater that is awesome in this deck. Can also double as removal. For haste enablers I kept Fires of Yavimaya and Rhythm of the Wild. So these are 3 drops that have additional effects. They have additional modes, if you will. If we don't need them, we can utilize their other modes. Samut Tyrant Smasher is 2 Gruul for a legendary planeswalker. Samut starts with 5 loyalty. Creatures you control have haste and has a -1. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste until the end of turn. Scry 1. So this can be a cool little haste enabler with a scry and a power pump. Pretty good card. Garna the Blood Flame. Look at that fist. She got a fist full of flame, bro. So this can help us recover from a board wipe, grants our creatures haste, and has flash. Can be a little surprise for our opponents. Perforos, Bronze Blooded. This dude's bursting out of a volcano with his hammer ready to rock. So it's 4 and a red for a legendary enchantment creature. It's a god for 7/6. Has indestructible. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Perforos isn't a creature. So you can actually get him online pretty quick. Because I think Ognis counts as 3 and then he counts as 1. So all you need is 1 other red pip. Other creatures you control have haste. There you go. 2 and a red. You may put a red creature card or artifact creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Xenagos, God of Revels, is 3 red and a green for a legendary enchantment creature god. It's a 6/5 indestructible. As long as your devotion to red and green is less than 7, Xenagos isn't a creature. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and gets +X until the end of turn, where X is that creature's power. So this guy's making our creatures doubly big and giving them haste. Gotta love it. Okay, now we're getting into the generic good stuff creatures. So I kept a reclamation stage in there to deal with Rhystic Study and or Smothering Tithe. In a deck with 41 creatures, you might want to include a Beast Whisperer, so I think this will probably draw us a few cards. This guy's really good, it's only about $2. I mean, what is he saying to that bird, man? What's he telling him? He's telling him secrets. Oh, you know who else has some secrets? Toski, Bearer of Secrets, is a really good card in a deck with so many evasive creatures. He's indestructible, he's a squirrel, he has hook hands, he's got secrets. This guy's gonna draw us cards. That's the real secret, bro. The Elder Gargaroth, respect your elders. So this guy's going to draw us cards and is a very efficient attacker who can then block nuisance attacks. This has Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. It's 3 green for a 6/6 beast. So you can also, whenever he attacks or blocks, you can create a 3/3 green beast creature token. You can gain 3 life, or you can draw a card. Pretty much always going to draw a card. This guy is the secret commander of the deck and is a great tutor target. So this is Korvold, Fakehurst King. So it's 2 black, red, and a green for a legendary creature, Dragon Noble 4/4 with flying. Whenever Korvold, Fakehurst King enters the battlefield or attacks, sacrifice another permanent. Hopefully that'll be one of our tapped treasure tokens. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Korvold and draw a card. So every time we sack a treasure, we draw a card, we embiggen Korvold, so we'll be sacrificing a ton of treasures. I have a Korvold deck, and a deck built around this guy is pretty powerful. As part of the 99, I think he'll be a little more fair. So in a deck like this, we want to include some treasure synergies and some treasure making synergies. A favorite of mine from Kamigawa is Dockside Chef. This guy will not set the world on fire, but he'll draw cards in exchange for our treasures, and this can be super important late game. My buddy Kevin suggested Kalain, Reclusive Painter. I count this as a ramp creature. If it comes down on turn 2, we can get Ognis out on turn 3 using the treasure, plus the added counters, which is going to be surprisingly relevant as the game goes on. Academy Manufacturer is an auto-include for any commander that makes treasure tokens, or makes clue tokens, or makes food tokens. This guy is going to go nuts with our commander and hopefully get us some synergy. Zorn. So Zorn's a pretty simple card. It's 2 and a red for a 3/2 creature elemental. If you would create 1 or more treasure tokens, instead create those tokens plus an additional treasure token. So this is going to trigger off of each of our creatures with haste, and also some of the other stuff in the deck. So it's like, what are you watching on the computer, son? You know, nothing crazy, Dad, just watching some Zorn. Wolfgav, Icewind Dale. He has a similar effect, but applies to all of our attack triggers, of which there are a few more in the deck. Old Gnawbone, so 5 green for a legendary creature dragon. It's a 7/7 with flying. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. This guy is insane, so it's also $30 or so, but it's a house in this deck and is a fantastic tutor target. So we want access to our impactful creatures like Korvold, Old Gnawbone, most of the time that we're playing this deck. If Kikijiki's out, we also want Zealous Conscripts. So let's tutor them out with Core to Calling. So this is an instance, so we can do this just prior to our turn to wreak havoc with Old Gnawbone or one of our combos. Our other tutors, Green Sun, Zenith, and Natural Order only get green creatures. But Korvold and Old Gnawbone are green creatures, so whatever, man. Just go get them out of your deck. Have a good time. So then we're going to round out the deck with some ramp creatures, some draw options, some removal. You can salt some removal in there to taste. Greater Good will be great in this deck because our creatures are going to get big, so we can sack them, draw a bunch of extra cards. This deck is a classic beatdown deck that needs to be respected. Ognis is going to be a target, so consider Lightning Greaves for more haste and some protection. So let me know what you guys think. I'm excited about this commander. I'm definitely going to build it. What did I miss? Tell me in the comments. Let me know. I want to know what you guys are thinking. You know what I mean? What are you just going to think thoughts and keep them inside your head? Anyway, man, this is going to be Nicky G from Better Commander, signing off.